Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And I'm back for another college basketball recap. We got Butler taking on number one UConn and falling 71 to 62. Without further ado, let's run it. So, from this game, what you see is what you get. It's very, very difficult to go into Stores, Connecticut and defeat UConn. UConn's won their 11th straight, and that's their 17th straight home win going back to January of last year. Butler's own 4-game win streak, unfortunately, comes to an end. In the game itself, UConn jumped out to a quick 6-0 lead, and that's about where the game stayed the rest of the game. Anytime UConn would score a few buckets, Butler would answer right back and vice versa, but UConn never trailed at any point, kept the deficit around 6-10, and Butler couldn't quite get that counterpunch to finally catch UConn and cut the deficit. I guess it goes to show there can only be one major upset in college basketball. Shout out to Clemson, who went into Chapel Hill and knocked off number 3 UNC. So major props to them. For Butler, the top performers tonight were DJ Davis and Jamil Telfort. Jamil Telfort had 17 points on 7-17 shooting, knocked down all 3 of his free throws, and he had 3 steals. Davis had 21 points. He was 6 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from deep, and hit all 6 of his free throws. He had 2 steals himself. More on Davis later. The main thing for Butler is that after 90, 88, and 99 points in their last 3 games, the offense just kind of went ice cold. They shot 37% from the field, and they shot 4 for 18 from 3, which is about 22%, which is not a very good winning margin. Although it is worth saying, UConn made them work for every basket. Their defense deserves so much credit. DJ Davis being the top scorer, he got hot, but there really wasn't much else outside of him. Davis, especially at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half, was Butler's offense. It really does help being the best free throw shooter in the entire country, is about a 95, 96% free throw shooter. He got fouled from beyond the arc twice and made all 6 of his shots, and that was really key for keeping Butler in the game in the second half. Defensively, they didn't play terrible. It was an admirable effort. They did their best to at least limit Donovan Clingan, but I'll talk more about it later. You can't really stop Donovan Clingan. You can only try your best to slow him down. Guys like Alex Caravan and Tristan Newton were relative non-factors, so I think they did a good job limiting them. And Butler was really resilient in this game. There's absolutely nothing to be upset about with this loss. Yeah, you'd like to win, but UConn is a juggernaut. And it proves once again that they can honestly hang with the best. You upset Creighton at Creighton. You go into UConn and play UConn tough, lost by single digits. There's really not much you can ask for than that. On the other side, for UConn, their top performers were Cam Spencer with 20 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3 with a pair of steals, and Donovan Clingan with 18 points. He was 8 of 12 from the field, 14 boards, which was a season high, and 3 blocks. More on Donovan Clingan. It really pays to be 7'2". He's just a massive human being, and he looks even more massive out on the floor. UConn made it a point of emphasis to get him the ball early and often, funnel the offense through the big guy, and he was a force to be reckoned with. That created massive mismatches for Butler's bigs, and it really did show in his stat line on both ends of the floor. Offensively, you get it in, and he either had a clean look at the basket or he dished it out. And on defense, some of his blocks were otherworldly. There was a shot from near the 3-point line that Donovan Clingan was able to step out and block into the third row. That really stood out for me, where I was going, whoa, this guy is not your ordinary 7-foot-tall basketball player. On the offensive end, you really have to give credit to UConn. They controlled the game and played it at their pace. Whenever UConn ran their sets and got into a rhythm, it seemed like they could do pretty much whatever they wanted. Like I said, Donovan Clingan took advantage of the mismatch, and if he wasn't available, Cam Spencer was running around the floor like an absolute madman, and he used all 30 seconds to be in constant motion, and he always seemed to find enough room somewhere to shoot an open shot. It almost seemed like, well, if he's open for 3, you might as well give him 3 points, which he only made half of his threes, but still, you can't leave that guy open from 3 at all. UConn is the best team in college basketball. There's everybody else. And then there's UConn. They're just a cut above. They deserve all the praise heaped on them as a team. Mad respect to them. And their win streak, their home win streak, all speaks for itself. They have an abundance of talent up and down the roster. They have star power and they roll deep. It seems like anybody can be an X factor on any given night. Offense and defense plays so well together. And Dan Hurley has his guys rolling towards back to back. Coming up next for Butler, their next game is Saturday against Providence. They head back home. As of right now, they're still firmly on the bubble watch. They're anywhere from 10 to 12 as a seed, and a single-digit loss really doesn't hurt them at all, and it could actually help them. It might rise their KenPom, it might rise their net rankings, and this Butler team is a very well-coached and skilled squad. They're going to be a tough out if they get into the dance. And on the other side, UConn's next game is also Saturday at Georgetown. They might be number one in the AP poll, but they're still in a dogfight with Tim's Purdue Boilermakers for that top overall seed. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out, but there's something that I can predict. UConn's next game is going to be an absolute beatdown because they're just that much better. But that's all I got for this recap of Butler and UConn. If you want to watch more college basketball content, I'm doing Butler game recaps. Tim is doing Purdue game recaps, as well as both of us are going to be contributing to Boom, Bust, or Believable, getting you prepared for a bunch of teams up until the tournament. We got the Super Bowl coming up, so you best believe we're going to cover that as well. And let us know what else you want us to talk about. But until next time, I'm out.